Tickle me.
So 1985, down the park at the bottom of my primary school, which was in Victoria Park, which is not far from Bedminster, there was a piece on an old like changing room or something, right? Said the Fiends of Style. And I always remember this piece because it's one of the early ones we saw. Took a really dodgy photo from really far away and like forgot about it. We're walking in after seeing it, and there's a tag on a building saying the Fiends of Style. It was in pink, obviously, so we just went, oh, pink tag. I took a picture of the tag and I really liked the hand style. Never thought much of it till like 20, 30 years later. I'm like, never knew who did it. Never really, because never had a good enough picture to see the tags, who did it or anything. This, that, and the other. So about, I don't know, 25, maybe, 25, I don't know, mid-90s, yeah? We're supporting, maybe 2000s as Fat Club, because I'm doing the music, and we're supporting Rodney P and Skits. And somehow me and Skits were talking, and we're talking about graffiti, right? So we get onto Graph and stuff. And I see online he's put up some pictures of him in his little, like, Adidas top posing in front of pieces, and I had that. He said, I used to do graffiti. I said, yeah, I know. I see. Like he said, yeah, I used to do it in Bristol. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, I used to do it in Bristol. And I'm like, oh, where? And he's like, around Bedminster. I'm like, what year? And he's like, oh, 85. Like, and I'm like, well, what about this piece, the Fiends of Style? For somehow I got onto that piece because it was where it was.
Yeah.
And he said, oh yeah, me and Di did it.
Killa Kela podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com.
Street Culture TV.
Instagram UK Frontline.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, Killa Kela podcast, live and direct, central London, or central as you need to be, could be, choose to be. You don't want to be anywhere else, but leave that baby pie. If you have been sleeping on the 600 plus podcast, you know what to do. You need to jump on, log in, tune in, cop out, and big shout out to all the subscribers. People have been sharing and caring from the very beginnings. Okay, people, our sponsors, the mighty GKNIFTYHEADS, have 10,000 play-to-earn GraffPunks NFTs to give away. Get ready as London's white trash goes blockchain digital with Bitcoin Cash tokens locked into them to claim. Get yourselves over to the website GKNIFTYHEADS.com and play to earn now. We're heading over to the sunny West Country, Bristol side of things. You come across these characters, and since we've opened the Bristolian Pandora's box with Chio, thought I'd get another friend of mine on. Promoter, creator, MC, graffiti writer. He goes by the name of Chiro. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
This is going to be a right trip down memory lane, my brother. How you been?
I'm all good, mate. Yeah, plodding on, ups and downs and just keeping on, really.
Yeah. We were just saying before we kick things off, the micro scene that is Bristol, but amplifies such a huge radiance of talent and just skills and abilities. I mean, the pedigree is ridiculous. But obviously that comes with a price.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everybody's business. Yeah.
Is that part of the calling for Bristolian creative arts?
I reckon so. Yeah, pretty much in our circle. I think as you get older, I think it just it pays to know bits.
In what respect? I don't know. In what respect? Because actually, I think I do know where you're coming from. Because if you've got a scene that is tight, then it does bring a competitive edge to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, always in music and graph. Yeah, I mean, it just keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? If you see someone coming up and they're doing something and it makes your eyes open, you're going to want to compete, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
you know what's mad? When I think of TURROE, I think of like a stalwart in not just like the Bristolian scene. You genuinely have an inherent love and passion for it. You're a fan as much as a contender.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what got me into it. Like I sort of got into it the same way as most people of our age. Stories are the same. Do you know what I mean? But I heard this, I saw this, something clicked, and then you got to find out what is all about. Do you know what I mean? But I was at an age where I was like 12, 13. Nobody was writing graffiti apart from 3D, as far as I know. Especially in Bristol, I'm a little kid, so we see it. You take it in, and I was a bit like Gio actually in that sense, where I go home and draw from memory what I just saw without actually knowing anything about it. I mean, 3D painting without any outside influence apart from straight from America. Like, it was way before like Subway Art and stuff, year or two.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. It was more like comic book stuff he was doing. So
Really?
we were like, but yeah, somebody showed me some. My mate were back to music and graph. He showed me some drawings his brother had done in his bedroom. And I was like, oh, I'll go home and draw it without even knowing what it was. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so what year was this?
This is like probably 83, 84, maybe 83, maybe 82. Because I was popping before, and like we was doing robotics before. They were b-boying and battling their local crews in my back garden and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But we was popping and listening to electros, and it was the same. My mate who was taping the electros for me showed me this, and I didn't even know what it was.
Really?
And then about a year later, so it must have been about 83, he showed me Subway Art. He brought it to school and showed me it.
Wow.
And that was it then for me. I was like, I need to know what it is, like, and what it's all about. So we just go out and look for it. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't many people doing it. You could probably count them on two hands.
Yeah.
Maybe 6, 7, 8 people painting at that time.
Really?
Yeah, like I can name it. It's 3D, Inky, Ego, which is Nick Walker, Fade, Style, Kellogg's, the MC.
Wow.
My mate Dine. Yeah. UD4, the crew, the sound, like the sound crew next to Wild Bunch.
Wow.
And a couple, maybe Chaos around about that time, maybe a little bit later, and that was it. Bandito and DMK, rest in peace. Chaos, rest in peace. But these are the people we were looking towards. Didn't know any of them really, not at that time. Ride about on our bikes, taking photos, taking them home and copying them, drawing what you saw. Obviously, Inky was painting it, and Crime Incorporated, his crew, and that was probably it. And it was all brought up on music. Like a lot of them were like sound system crews, and it come from that.
Right.
So for us, it was hand in hand. The music and the graffiti was hand in hand.
Yeah, because sometimes, particularly in the bigger cities, it's crime affiliated, tagging and such, and it immediately does catch that attention of those kind of people. You're saying from your sides, it was more music orientated. It was driven more by sound.
In the very beginning, you're the very essence of it. Yeah.
I find that so interesting that it was such an early infancy of the urban arts. It was almost like early Wi-Fi for you guys. It's a need to know.
It was, mate. I'll tell you how need to know it was, right? So there was only 2 other people in my school did it. One of my mates who became my crew member, he was younger, and then an older person. And the first time I emceed was at one of the older person's jam at the local YMCA. So they were a sound crew as well. So him and his mate he did graph in his bedroom. And this is way before I knew what it was. And then Risky, my other mate who was younger, we used to battle him at school, drawing. Yeah, Choro's better than you. No, he's better than you. And then in the end, it was a bit like the Demon voice, like the lyric, like Demon. Me and Demon never used to get along. He would say that I was right, and I would say that I was wrong.
Amazing.
It was like, yeah, Risky's better than you. No, Choro's. But so in the end, we joined forces. But I forgot what I said. Oh yeah. So then I used to look out for Chaos and Shabs when they were painting. This is how you can't get in unless you know someone or some can't just go up and do it or write over people's pieces, like do you know what I mean? So you're like, I need to know what it's all about and who's who. So you just observe, and then because Chaos was Southside, so Chaos was from Knoll, which is just up the road where my mum, like she comes from, which is a notorious trading estate, council estate. So, and Bungie, who was in Fresh 4 at the time, was Chaos's mate. So I used to go to Bunges to get tapes off of him, and he'd be doing me tapes, and he'd be like, oh, Chaos and Shabs painted so and so last night, and they done Stapleton Road Station and this. So we go and look at it. So I finally got to, and I'm like, he used pink spray. We didn't even know where to get pink spray paint from. Right? Never had a clue. We were just using car plan shit paint. And I'm like, where'd you get it from? He's like, I can't tell you. This is how you can, I can't even tell you. So for about a year, I was badgering him to find out where you get it.
Where do you get it from?
Yeah, and he's like, well, I'm not telling you, Chaos will go mental. He's like, oh, it's down here, like this area here. So it was Temple Meads, he says, down by Temple Meads somewhere. He didn't tell me exactly where. And so we just went down on the hunt, saw some tags on a pillar outside in like lilac and pink. And we were like, oh, this is the place. But there was a door and it was just like an office block. And we were like, this can't be it. Like, what? So anyway, we followed the tags and we opened the door and there was all tags up the stairwell. And we were like, this is definitely it.
Follow the scent.
The stairwell, and there's just a door in front of us and it said Euro Graphics. And so we went in and realized it was just an art supply store.
Wow.
So like, everything to do with like letter sets and like art stuff. And then at the back of the shop, they had a rack with this Marabou buntlack. And we were like, oh, yeah. So we were like, oh, looked at the prices, like £8 a tin. We were like, what? So we're like, yeah,
get racky.
I wanted it. And we just go and buy some occasionally, club together our £8 to get one tin. And when we went looking, we robbed the rest, And that was it then for us.
Beautiful. You were addicted there and then, boom.
Yeah, we were on our way, yeah.
Explain to me a bit more socially what Bristol was like back then, because that was one thing I've never really got to on podcast is, from a observational point of view. No, actually more in a retrospective. What was the landscape like? How turbulent was it? We're talking about mid 80s now in West Country. What was the breeding ground for art at that time? What was it like socially?
It was segregated in the sense of a lot of it was in like urban areas, as in St. Paul's. And that's like Bandito and TPA were painting in St. Paul's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. So we'd have to travel from our side of town on our little bikes to St. Paul's with our cameras. And it was a bit dodgy. Like you just can't, load of little scruffy white kids riding around. It wasn't too bad on the tail end, but mid-80s, obviously they had the riots and stuff. And obviously it was a little bit segregated. And whoever was doing it in their own areas kept to their own areas pretty much.
Right.
Like you travel and do a little tag here and there just to let people know that you were around, but you wouldn't necessarily approach people, or if you did see people painting or you knew, you'd just hang back and observe. Like you wouldn't dare do what people are doing now. Like you wouldn't rock up and paint next to them, or sometimes wouldn't even speak to them. You just like nod. You had to worm your way in. You had to let them know that you want a toy or an idiot, first of all. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it was like. So we were doing bits on our side of town, but we were little toys then. Do you know what I mean? When we started, and you had to find out who was who and go to these areas, take your pictures, and then come back and hone your skills and come back out. And you had to do that until you knew who they were. But so that happened. And we were doing bits our side of town. Obviously, like people, Tio and them lot from Kingswood, the Kingswood lot were doing their bits, Indeed, and them lot. And then he was doing his bits. And then TPA were in St. Paul's, and Fade and Stahl and that were in St. Paul's. So you never really crossed them unless you went there specifically. And then you wouldn't really speak. So what happened was my two of my mates from school, Risky and his mate, his dad was from St. Paul's. So they used to go and get the photos and come back. Then one of them went to Covent Garden with the school trip and brought back the Chrome Angels, like the Devious piece and stuff like that. So I got to that. And then they discovered Barton Hill Youth Club before I even knew what it was. So they went there, and John Nation showed them around the club, and they saw the graph, and it was like, oh shit, this is the place. But Barton Hill back then, mate, was pretty much a no-go area.
Right.
like it was somebody quoted in their book, which what he said he went there in the 80s, which he and had his trousers, his dad had his trousers nicked. I would say who it was, but that was fabricated. It wasn't true. He didn't go there in the 80s at all. He rocked up in like mid 90s when it was all done and dusted. So they went there, got invited in, scared to death of John's staff. Back then he had a big fat Staffley bull terrier called Lenny.
Jesus,
Everyone's frightened, mate. We're chatting like 86. Everyone's frightened to death of the dog. Dog was mental. But lovely dog. So they went in, got to know him, come back with some photos and some stories. But they didn't necessarily go there again because I think they were a bit shook. Yeah. They wanted to stay to our side of town. Yeah. So me being me and them telling me I'm going there. I need to see what it's all about. So I rock up there. Post a few drawings through the letterbox and stuff, mate. I was such a toy. I was like, what am I doing? And then one day, I think I knock on the door and John opens the door. He's quite welcoming, yeah, because he knows we're all, mate, you got kids from Kingswood and Barton Hill and all sorts around now. Do you know what I mean? He's going to Amsterdam every weekend to take photos and stuff. So he gets out all his photo albums and starts showing you all his photo albums from London, Amsterdam, and this. So I keep going up there. And then I start meeting all the regulars, like all the street kids who are all over the place. They're bombing now, like, and we're bombing our side of the town. So we're linking. Ironically, I think one of the first people this was in '86. I linked with was Chio, and I went to Kingswood with him and sort of tagged around his area and stuff. We formed a little crew, and it was me and him, and he came with me to paint my mate's bedroom in that. So, and then I started meeting all the other kids, like your Deeds and all the TCP, his posse.
Yeah.
Meeting the Kingswood lot with, and then Tio comes along and Sema and all these roughnecks. Ink is there, Chaos is painting there, like everybody's just painting at the club. So you get sucked in, and at this point, I'm going there. Although we're painting our side of town with my crew, I'm sort of accepted now with their crew. So me and SP27, we form a link and come to London and go to Ladbroke Grove and Culver. Like we go there and I take photos with my camera and that, and get mugged for the camera. In a pit.
Thank you, London.
As you do. And then he got my camera back, and we go back to Barton. I'm like, don't tell everyone I got robbed. He's like, no. Walk back into the club. He's like, guess what? TURROE got taxed. Everyone's laughing.
Cheers,
I still got the pictures. Yeah, but I got the camera back, and he got it back from me, and I still got the pictures to this day of the Casby piece and the Cold Crush Jukes and all the stuff in the pit and stuff like that. Are you
serious? You still got the pictures?
Still got the pictures, which are stitched together, sellotaped together on a Kodak disc camera.
Dude,
about that big.
Crazy.
Mate, the Earth's Edge.
You got it?
I took a joiner, sat on the wall opposite. So I got the whole thing sat on his for a tiny little picture is really good quality. Like for a shit little camera, it's good quality. Dude. But these things, this is what I'm going to get to. Everybody I know who's into graph or hip hop and that, we're all a little bit special. So, and we're all like hoarders, and we got to have, like, especially I know I've got to have it. Like I've got to have it all, and I've got to keep it all. So you can imagine, like, my back catalogue and the stuff I'm doing in my black books and photo albums and stuff are quite immense.
Yeah.
And I keep it. But I never really knew why I kept it all when I wanted it all, but I do. And
so everything from flicks to what, old spray cans to belt buckles to you name it, all the regalia.
Yeah, some things have gone. I used to have a Flavor Flav clock. I went to New York and got a Giants jacket in New York, but the clock's gone.
Hold on, stop. Did you have a Jive jacket?
Yeah, I had the LL Cool J one. Yes. I left school in '89.
What happened to that? How come you don't have that?
I swapped the clock and the jacket with one of my friends for some records or something stupid.
Oh wow!
I had it for a long time. My dad bought me it. We went to Florida and New York when I was a kid. So yeah. But belt buckle tapes, my tape collection's vast.
Yeah, I bet it is.
It's quite vast. And my book collection. So leading on, it leads me to what I've been doing recently. And we've made a few books and self-published a couple of books from the archives and like fanzines and it's like my own stuff. And then we did a 80's Bristol graffiti book.
Oh, stop. Hey, listen, if you're not
Yeah.
watching and only listening, you're missing a rake trick. Can I just see that?
Yeah, you can see it. That's It's No Great Crime, the 3D
Fantastic.
piece. And then
It's
it
no
goes
cheap crime. Wicked. When did this come out? Sorry.
I did it. We self-published it, and so I sold it myself. It's all gone now, done, dusted. That's the first 3D piece in Bristol ever.
What?
Yeah,
Yo.
1983.
That is insane.
To like Chaos and Bandito stuff, and yeah,
Oh.
but yeah, you got to see it to believe it that I still actually got like the picture. I've got a lot of stuff on the computer and that, and still finding more to this
Really?
day. Yeah,
What,
like
what
still
have your own
on
archives?
yeah, other people's as well. Like it's I get things by hook or by crook, and I'm one of them. I'm like, if I hear you've got a picture and I haven't seen it,
I'm on you, man.
I need it. I need it, mate. I can't sleep until I get
The
it.
red beam's on.
I gotta hunt these things down. So here's a little story, which you'll laugh at this one, right?
Tickle me.
So 1985, down the park at the bottom of my primary school, which was in Victoria Park, which is not far from Bedminster, there was a piece on an old like changing room or something, right? Said the Fiends of Style. And I always remember this piece because it's one of the early ones we saw. Took a really dodgy photo from really far away and like forgot about it. We're walking in after seeing it, and there's a tag on a building saying the Fiends of Style. It was in pink, obviously, so we just went, oh, pink tag. I took a picture of the tag and I really like the hand style. Never thought much of it till like 20, 30 years later. I'm like, never knew who did it. Never really, because never had a good enough picture to see the tags who did it or anything. This, that, and the other. So about, I don't know, 25, maybe, 25, I don't know, mid-90s, yeah? We're supporting, maybe 2000s as Fat Club, because I'm doing the music, and we're supporting Rodney P and Skits. And somehow me and Skits were talking, and we're talking about graffiti. Right, so we get onto Graph and stuff, and I see online he's put up some pictures of him in his little like Adidas top in front, posing in front of pieces, and I had that. He said, I used to do graffiti. I said, yeah, I know. I see. Like he said, yeah, I used to do it in Bristol. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, I used to do it in Bristol, and I'm like, oh, where? And he's like, around Bedminster. I'm like, what year? And he's like, oh, 85. Like, and I'm like, well, what about this piece, The Fiends of Style? For somehow I got onto that piece because it was where it was.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, yeah, me and Di did it. And
I
went,
man, that's too close, man. That is.
Yeah, I went, what? And he was like, oh, yeah, me and Di used to do graph, and it was me and I never knew until that actual day that I was talking to, and it was him, and then it clicked then. Wow. When I look back at the picture, yeah, Skits in Scrawl. The Fiends of Style.
Oh, full cycle.
Where they did the tag, there was two old warehouses around. It's all around a certain area. Totterdown area was where Tricky and the Fresh Four used to do squat jams.
Right.
Around the corner there was a warehouse. We did a jam with Soul Crime, which was the older kiddies from our school in one of the warehouses and painted in it. I was on bail at the time. I got arrested, so that we got to backtrack to that, but that was another story. So they put lights up, spotlights on us, and we were painting, and then they got raided. So the old Bill came, turned off the spotlights, and we just disappeared into the dark. But we got some nice pieces in there.
Really?
And then by the Fiends of Style tag, there was another warehouse which we claimed as our own. I'll send you some pictures as a while back, and then we painted like regularly in there because it was in Bedminster, which was our turf sort of thing. But that's where we were like going in and honing our skills and stuff.
I've got such high expectations of photos that are going to be in this podcast, my friend. This is
got many. Yeah, that's cool.
I think you find it very, very, charming. Charming is the right word. Di is a graffiti writer. Skits is a graffiti writer. And like you say, music come first, secondary to, it was the entry point to graph.
It was. Yeah. The Buffalo Girls, and like it's all those little things that everybody says, especially from the UK. You get these little snippets of little things like Jeffrey Daniels. You've heard it before, doing the moonwalk on top of the pops, and then, but before that, like older people would say this, and not necessarily even hip hop. Like Chris would say it was Candy Girl. Who sung Candy Girl?
It wasn't it.
New
Bobby Brown?
Edition.
New Edition. That's it.
New
Yeah.
Edition. So he'd say the dress, like one of them had a Kangol, and it was these little things that just open up your eyes, and that was little snippets. And
even with the body popping, you know, pre MJ, like you being into body popping doesn't necessarily it's not inherent to hip hop, but there were loads of little kind of suggestions that it was based on Soul Train, like you say, or New Edition, and those kind of music videos, right?
Yeah, definitely. And before, because I had it was like hits of 81 or 82, this album, like one of those KTEL like UK version albums with compilation, a bit like now, but it was better music. And it wasn't even body pop. I was doing robotics. So I did robotics at a family party in front of my nan and stuff, and I'm like 11. And I'm doing it to Freeze's AIOU,
Amazing.
And I'm like doing this, and I never even knew until like a year later about Rocket because I saw the video. So then I look on the album, and on the flip side of the album is Herbie Hancock's Rocket. So I'm doing these robotics to this tune, and they should be done to this tune. It's practically made for it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're learning as you go. That's the thing about hip hop of that time, kind of picking up the fundamentals and just trying to figure it out as you go, right?
Which is why I started rapping American, because you're first like yanking it massively in like 89 and onwards until you realize that you can't do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's your influence, direct influence, until you hear someone MCing in a UK accent.
Yeah. Give me some MCs or rap crews that you believe genuinely don't get their flowers based out of Bristol, or at least their humble beginnings in Bristol for that time.
Everybody mentions the same three that do, or two that do. We all know the two that do massively. Three and one person. There's UD4 were a sound system crew alongside Wild Bunch. Yeah, there was two rappers in UD4. They were really good. One cut crew, which is my mate Shady and his crew. They were a sound system crew, but they rarely get mentioned.
Wow.
In music terms. He was an MC. Shady was MCing and doing graffiti the same time as me, and then later became a Barton Hill TUB member, like alongside a lot of us.
Right.
They definitely don't get a flower. 3 PM do get flowers.
They do get flowers. I feel you.
Which they always should, because that was my entry point into MCing properly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, because if it wasn't for Kels and Chris and me seeing them live, I would never change my accent and realize that I could actually do it properly.
Great act.
Yeah, he was quite intimidating back then as well, our Kels.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, being a little white kid as well, mate. You got to let them know that you know. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you're not getting on the mic.
Skills first, always skills.
Stepchild, even though he's a Southwest descendant, but from Swindon, which is just down the road, but then he lived there long enough to be an honorary member, like Bristol. Stepchild definitely don't get flowers enough.
Because I ain't had in a while. That's big up for that. I'm so glad I asked this question. This is fucking great.
There's a few, mate, and there's a lot of talent, new talent as well. Like, it's still going, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of bits, like keeping it. But as far as back then, these are names or necessarily people you wouldn't know about unless you knew. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had to be there, and there's a few that have gone by the by as well.
Your name definitely comes into this bracket of artistry coming into Bristol the way I did on entry. Certainly yourself, TURROE, Awkward, Parlour Talk, Undivided Attention, Aspects, Bubba. I mean, I don't think I'm missing anything out within that stable of that era.
Retna and his 100 strong.
Yes, there you go.
Quantum Deluxe. Even you could mention Junior Disbro in that breath. Even 100%. Though he's with Wells or mate Fog, he was in that circle. Beans. There's a few others. Yeah, big up Beans. Sober, Dribbler. Like there's a few from that. You're chatting probably 90s, like the beginning of the 90s here. We were all we were pretty much together then. Like, if you know what I mean. Fantastic Superheroes were most of those people you mentioned as one
That's
crew.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Fantastic Superheroes, which
Yeah.
had the extension into Swansea and Cardiff with the Headcase Boys.
That's right, yeah. And our mates, all Knobster and Slice,
Knobster.
and then Loose
Yeah.
Tunes, them lot.
Yeah,
Well, they're all family. Everyone, like I know, obviously all of them and the later people as well from going to Swansea and Cardiff, and them not coming here.
They were just they were so gracious. I remember just hanging out with them, doing early stuff with the Prime and Keller tapes I used to do. Like, Jesus, like these were golden, huge moments for my career.
Yeah, they put out wax and tapes, and they've got my stuff. I've got their stuff, and then we collab after.
Wonky Records.
Wonky Wax.
Yes,
yeah, Wonky Wax. Genius, them lot.
Absolute genius.
Crazy, mental, all of them. But yeah.
They basically did. It was like UA. It was like Undivided Attention on steroids.
Welsh Wu-Tang, mate. It was a Welsh Wu-Tang, isn't it?
Yeah, Welsh Tang.
Welsh Tang.
Fucking great. Golden. Yeah, there was this. It was this connectivity as well. I think you guys had like scratch DJs as well. You had a bunch of. Did you have crews back then?
Undivided Boy, Friction, Name, Undivided lot. Scratch DJ. Obviously, Beans is the one. A lot, and then going into Numbskulls and like Roller, and then we're forgetting them. How can we forget them?
Jesus,
Roller never gets his flowers. He's so quiet. He just don't get a prop. Still going as well.
Yeah, still going, yeah. Numbskulls, boy, they have that some. Yeah, no, we're talking some of that, the Disorder UK Hustlers mixtapes kind of era stuff.
Yeah,
I love all that. I did feel like there was a shape-shifting attention when aspects did come through.
Definitely,
it wasn't there. It was
ruffled a few feathers along the way.
Yeah. You reckon?
Yeah, which is going to do. Like I said to you, such a small scene. Some new boys coming in and getting a lot of attention and causing a bit of a stir is like opening some eyes. Like I said, if it made some people put themselves out there more and do more, then it was never a bad thing.
No, I don't think so. They had the record store as well, didn't they?
Backyard, that was Ian's, LI's. Yeah, I put the sign up and I fitted the sign and it blew out and smashed up the road.
Really?
Dodgy sign, yeah. That was a little collective hub for everyone. But yeah, they had the spotlight on them for quite a few years.
Yeah. What's the scene like in Bristol at the on terra firma right now, Turro?
Graff or music or both?
I think Graff. Let's stick with Graff.
It's fractured again. There's about 3 different sets of people and crew. Like, you've got a hardcore street bombers who we always think is the youngsters, but they're not that young. They're like late 20s, early 30s, going out rooftops. Everything is battered. Mine, don't get me wrong. Like, it's covered.
Really?
There's stuff everywhere. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And it's so small you can't help but see the same names and then you got the ones, the train scene and the crews out there doing their bits.
Wow.
They're there. Like, they're out there smashing it. And then you got us old timers, the Sunday socials, who are just, you know what we're like. I'm like, I'll be back. Oh, I can't go out there longer than 4 or 5 hours. We just meet up, have a chat, have a moan, paint a wall, a couple of hours, and go and cook the dinner and have a kip. Do you know what I mean? You've got us a lot. But there's a lot. There's a lot. And
then I guess you got the more commercial end of street art, because you guys have always.
Well, yeah. Why am I not mentioning that? It's like everywhere.
Fucking Upfest, man. That's one hell of a festival that you guys hold the crown to in terms of commercial.
Yeah, that's what it's turned in. It wasn't necessarily always that. They catered for both sides. Like, we've always done bits, and they've been all right. They give me some bits. Like, over the years, I've had some nice spots in collab. Like, and then now it's commercial, because obviously nobody likes Graff. Do you know what I mean? They like the street art, but we don't like all that writing shit. Like, all that tagging. You're like,
But there is a liberalness about Bristol that I think, the rest of the country aspires to, at least. It's almost like its own bohemian, space where it's hard to explain. because I'm explaining to someone that lives there. It's like
Go on.
it's almost like, but it's this feeling of like anything kind of goes.
That's people's misconception, isn't it?
Thank you.
Because it
Please
is
elaborate.
because we're all late. It's like London, but countrified and just laid back.
Right.
So we're more slower and more mellow, and everybody loves it when they come here because it is that. And we got a load of spots.
Yeah.
Or we did in a minute. There's a crackdown, and they're painting over everything, so it's causing a bit of stir again. Yeah.
Wow.
And no, but it's not lasted. It's took back now. They took back the spot, obviously. Like, so we've got these spots, and you can just come here and rock up and pretty much do what you want, like you said, and people and you can until you get too comfortable and start doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and then you get nicked for it. So if you go around Stokes Croft and places like that, it's battered, and you could basically just tag and write where you want in the middle of the daytime,
right?
Which you can, but at some point you're going to
come on top.
You're going to feel the collar. Do you know what I mean? Someone's going to feel your collar.
Really?
Yeah, of course. You can't do it forever.
No, true. But sorry, remember my mind went there was just the because you've got an audience for it as well. And not to say that the rest of the country doesn't have audience, but I just get the sense that a lot of students or a lot of people, they go down to Bristol for the arts, cultural value, and actually the graffiti and street art.
Definitely, but
you know what I mean.
But they don't like the graph; they like the street art. So you've got this double-edged coin where they're like, oh, yeah, we love street art, but we don't like this, right? So now they're trying to take away the spots and paint over all the spots that we're painting, but happily give you a street for Upfest to paint the side of buildings and stuff to the street artists, but we don't like the graph. And I'm like trying to tell you can't have one without the other, and there wouldn't be that without this. But because we're more traditional in what we do, this goes back to, so if I paint with Jody, and he does a super brilliant, lovely looking portrait of a woman, I'm like, it's just one of these things, I fucking ain't painting with Jody. This is my quote, because he gets all the attention. Everybody speaks to him when you're painting, and they just walk past you. You know what I mean? They're like, what are you talking about? No, I don't understand all this stuff. What's that? All these pretty guys, they just love all the stuff that they can relate to.
Of course.
Which is... It is what it is, but eventually what we do is a dying art in the sense of nobody really does traditional stuff apart from your soccers, and there's you've got 10 letter writers and the rest. I've even done, obviously I've made money off of it and done canvases and exhibitions, and do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Not so much now because it's not.
You said it was a dying art. Like, is that something? Is that what, because for Bristol that it's so much about the street art that other people, the more legal side or the contemporary, the more letter related stuff, you've got to fight your corner to keep spots, and
or you've got to do it the hardcore way. So, but the styles have changed as well. So all your bombers and all the styles that are different. So they don't necessarily like what we do.
Right.
I can appreciate what they do, but it's totally out of my realm. Like in the sense of I look at it and go, it's just a copy of somebody from somewhere else. And I'm not into it. It's not my cup of tea, but I still respect that they painted out like on a rooftop. I don't know. It's just different. It's different worlds. And I don't expect them to like what we do. Like in the sense of a dying art, we're like dinosaurs, and we're going to become extinct at some point. I feel that I'm that old. I'm just like, What? I'm like, I care, but I don't really care about it. That like it comes in waves, and like your motivation to go at some point, and I'll have a break, and then I'll come back. But it's not like I'm out there doing it, and it's not really that relevant to what's going on, if you know what I mean. Only in our own little circle of people who paint productions and want to paint. Like we're not them. We were them in the 80s. We're not them now.
I understand. So what's the future, my brother? What is the future?
The thing is, I haven't got any projects or anything in mind because because of the way I get when I do something all in. I'm holding back in a minute. I'll now just get back to work and go on holiday and have a bit of a rest. you know what I mean? Pay for the holiday, have a bit of a rest. Like, I don't know. I'm getting out painting every bit more at the moment. The sun's coming out. Few socials, but I haven't got any plans, to be honest, mate.
All
The
right.
longer it goes on, I'm sure something will pop up, but I'm not looking for it. So just, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I need just to switch off.
Of course.
So I'm quite happy sat here. When I'm not out painting, I'm happy sat here drawing and black booking and
Yeah, nice.
like,
As
keeping
long
up
as you're
with-
keeping them chops moving, that's all that matters. Keeping the black books
keeping up with
moving.
Dibs, the youngsters, and like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like looking at his stuff and going, Jesus Christ, I need to compete, but I can't. But I'm like, yeah. I haven't really got any definitive plans.
Well,
I
you
don't
do
know.
let us know, man. Let us know when you do. Let us know when you do.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll see. But this is cool. I appreciate it because starting to feel a bit irrelevant. Sat
Yeah,
here.
come on, baby.
But no, we had a conversation with Crawley online today. Like, what keeps you motivated?
Nice.
And I'm like, like the same as everybody else.
Mhm.
Can't not do it
Can't
because
not do it.
it's just, I don't know. I don't know. They don't know the reason. I can't give you the reason why. I just know you've got to.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And on that note, my brother, it's been a pleasure chatting.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
That's gone stupidly quick.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, man.
I appreciate it.
Country hail up. You know what it is. Listen, Killa Kela podcast out like it was out of fashion. TURROE tells you. You know, crime don't pay, but neither do they. Bristolians, thank you so much. And listen, don't talk to anyone I wouldn't. And you stay lucky, people. Till next time.
Nice one. Peace.
Easy.